It's time to get inside the Giants Huddle.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
On Giants.com.
I like it, I like it.
And the Giants mobile app.
Boom, give me some juice.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's roll.
Welcome to another episode of the Giants Huddle Podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Football Giants. I am John Schmeelk, and today we're joined by a very special guest, entering his 8th year as head coach of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. 2nd year, we have the pleasure of talking to the head coach, Fleck. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing elite. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, and look, we had you last year because the Giants drafted John Michael Schmitz, and now the Giants dip right back into that Minnesota pool of talent. They select Tyler Nubin. Let's start here. What is it about, you think, the character of the kids and the players that you develop that make them attractive to a team like the Giants, who also kind of value, I think, a lot of those same characteristics?
Well, I think they're NFL ready. I think that kind of gets thrown around a lot across college football and even into the NFL. And what that really means is, for us, I think our players love their life. They love their whole life, academically, athletically, socially, and spiritually. And as they go from 18 to 23 years old, this is where they grow up the most. And there needs to be cultural and program things put in place for them to be able to continue to develop into those 4 buckets. And I think that's why that our guys have had so much success when they go to the National Football League. And hopefully people continue to come back to the well because they know exactly what they're getting. And I think that's what makes our players really attractive. They love football. They love their life. How they do one thing is how they do everything. They're very consistent in what they do. You can almost cut down on the chances of missing more and more because of the information that you have and know exactly what type of program he's coming from. And I think that's hard when you have a lot of head coaches changing in college football, new cultures coming in, new processes, new ways of doing things. But like you said, we're going on year 8 here and just signed a new contract as well. And hopefully when people come and look at our guys, they'll know exactly what they're getting out of it by the guys that are having success in the league, as John Michael Schmitz already has in 1 year. And then obviously Tyler Nubin and coming up through the ranks here.
Yeah, so let's go back. You've been, like you mentioned, heading into your 8th year. You recruited Tyler. From reading about his recruitment, he got offers from teams like Michigan. He was a Michigan fan growing up, in fact, but he liked the connection with the coaches and the campus and what you guys did and what your culture was like at Minnesota. What attracted you guys to Tyler when you did try to recruit him to bring him in, what is that, 5 years ago?
Well, the first and foremost is the type of person he is. He's an ultimate competitor. You talk about somebody who loves football, loves his life. His mom and dad are unbelievable people. His brother plays here as well as a running back. But his dad played football at Eastern Michigan. His mom ran track at Eastern Michigan. They both come from athletic backgrounds. They know what it takes to get to a very, very high level. His dad is very successful in the financial world. And you can see that he had all those attributes of putting in the work and really studying and putting all the effort into the process, not just the result. And I think that's what they did as parents, is they valued the process of becoming whatever you're going to become, but pay the price during the process. And I think that was critical in developing him and also recruiting him. And then, like anything, I mean, we told him he could play corner. We knew he was going to be a safety, but he wanted to hear corner. So I told him he's going to play corner for sure, maybe a little wide out. And after like the 3rd day he was here, I called him in my office. I was like, dude, I'm just going to tell you I'm moving you to safety. He goes, I thought I was a corner. I was like, you were. But then I watched you for 3 days, and now I'm going to move you to safety, and you're going to be an NFL draft pick. And he's like, okay. And he was great with it, though. I think it took him a day or two to actually kind of get his brain around it. But when he could see what he could do at safety, I think that was a no-brainer for everybody. But just an unbelievable competitor, unbelievable person, comes from an incredible family, and he's so athletic. I mean, he could have been a great wideout as well. And I think that's what makes him attractive. He can cover. He can hit like a linebacker. He can cover like a corner. But the more space he has to be able to maneuver and be himself and be really athletic, the better he is.
I'll tell you, you'd have a much better selling job of selling a guy to go to safety now that your former safety, Antoine Winfield, just got paid more than any cornerback in the National Football League, Coach. So I think you're onto something down there with the safeties. You mentioned developing him as a player and a person. Where did you see him improve and develop the most in his 5 years with you in Minnesota?
Well, people talk about being a student of the game, but he's obsessive over the game. And I think there's a difference between just being a student. A student can just attend class, sit up front, be present. But when you're obsessing about something, you're constantly craving the growth. And I think that's where you separate the elite from the really good, is the craving and the obsession of getting better. And to do that, you have to be really good in the muck and the dirt and the grind, and of hearing what you're not really good at every day. And coaches are really good at that. We can tell you what you're not good at every single day. How you process that and then how you go out there and change that, that's the difference between the elite and the really good. And I think he loves the process of growth. And I think that's why he's going to be really successful. He's one of those people that, has his core group of friends, but he's one of the most friendly people you'll ever meet. He's willing to give up a lot in his life for what he's always dreamed of. And I think some people aren't willing to give up certain things for the next step. And he always has been able to do that. And you talk about somebody who's got his head on straight, got his priorities straight. I think he made a comment to the coaching staff, Coach Dable, this is the best decision the organization has made. The last person that made that comment was Tom Brady, as everybody noticed, and the roast that they had with Tom Brady the other day. But I think it just, there's certain people that you're recruiting. There's certain people that when you watch them play that have it, and he has it. And the love for the game, that's it for him. That's the it factor, because the love for it and the obsession for it will make him into what he's dreamed of being.
Yeah, Joe Shane, the Giants general manager, after the Giants drafted him, referred to him as a potential culture changer, and he thinks he's a guy that can help change the culture of a team. What is it about Tyler that not only where this obsession with football, student of the game, can help himself, but he can also make everyone else around him better and really change the culture of his position room and of a defense and of a team?
Well, culture is one of those words used that's really kind of the most overused word in sports. I think it gets abused. I think people use it and just throw it around there, but we define it as connecting people. That's all cultures do, right? They connect people and they get everybody into like a one type of belief system. And whoever can buy in that the most and become that the most has the best culture, and then they're going to be able to win the most games because they probably have the best team. But Tyler comes from that. He's coming from a culture that has massive expectations in every area of their life. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So whether it was academics, whether it was a social life, whether it was a spiritual life, his serving and giving, whether it was on the field performance, on the field processes, off the field, he did everything the way that a champion does it. And I think that's when he walks in there, he's so confident in who he is that he's going to be able to spread not just the competition amongst the team, but we're talking about competing with each other. You're still the New York Football Giants, right? You're not going against each other. You are still the same team, but he's going to bring this competition with each other. He has a great ability to connect people, even though you're competing against people. Save the competing against people for Sundays, but he'll bring this competing with, this energy, this passion, this way to practice, this energy level, this positivity that's going to make people want to be around him. And they're going to want to be around what the culture of the New York Football Giants is going to be. And that's a winning championship culture, right? And he's going to bring that, and it's going to be a reflection of what Coach Dable is trying to build. So I think that goes hand in hand. He'll never put himself before the team. And I think he never did that here. He had plenty of opportunities to do that, and he never did that. Even when he came back for his last year, he could have easily probably been drafted in the second, third round last year. Decided to come back for not only himself and help his draft stock, but it was for the team. It was for, beating Iowa, which we hadn't done here. And he did that. So he put all these things before himself. And I think that's what he's going to do with the Giants. But his energy is real. It's authentic. And he'll talk now. Listen, he'll have no problem talking trash. But here's the great thing about him. He'll talk trash, but then he'll also, whether you want to call it complimenting or talking more trash, when things happen, he'll compliment somebody. Somebody will beat him, and he'll compliment, that was a heck of a route. That was a great throw. Now he'll probably throw in like, you'll never do that again. But he's that type of guy where he just loves the game of football, but he loves the chess match of the talking within the game that is also a part of the game that a lot of people don't give credit to.
He had a great quote, Coach, and you mentioned he came back for his fifth year, had 5 interceptions. He had 13 interceptions in his career with you at Minnesota. And he was asked about his interceptions, and his answer was, all of my interceptions had to do with my preparation. And you talked about his football obsessiveness. You see that on tape. And you see the great instincts he has too, his ability to, from that, whether it's a split deep side or single high safety, watch the quarterback, know what he's going to do before he does it. And that's how he gets into positions to make these plays. Can you talk about how he kind of took his preparation and then his natural football instincts and that kind of combined to turn him into such a big playmaker in that deep safety spot?
Yeah, preparation doesn't equal perfect, right? And I think that's where some people think. That's why I said he's so good at the process of failing. He's so good at the process of growth. Because if you beat him once, okay, that's competition. Like there are people in the National Football League that are going to beat Tyler Nubin, but you're probably not going to beat him a second time. He has this Rolodex and this brain that is almost like a photogenic mind where he can also, if he gets beat once, he knows how he got beat, what he got beat with, and he knows the tendencies of that. He studies that, and rarely do you get him twice. In fact, he probably gets you the next time. So he constantly takes things off the board for offenses because if you got him once, you probably are only going to be able to use it once. Because by then he's going to build a Rolodex in his mind of knowing exactly he's going to be able to fish it out. He's going to be able to smell it out, and he's going to be able to find a way to make a play on it the next time. And not only that, still make plays the first time. So he is very instinctive, but he works really hard in his preparation, especially with tendencies. But I think we've had some really good football coaches through here that have helped him be a student of the game. He knows the game. He knows defense. He's not just some athlete on an X and O going out there and just making plays. He is an unbelievable athlete that's also trained to be able to work really well within the system and use the system to his advantage. So it's going to be fun to watch him, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Coach, we're going to talk to one of those great guys that coached him at Danny Collins as soon as we're done with you in a little bit. Looking forward to talking to him. You know, he didn't get to do a lot of the post-draft process stuff. He was recovering from an injury. You know, the Giants' mantra here is smart, tough, dependable. And, you know, football, you're never feeling great. End of the year, you're never fully healthy. How much did he have to play through injury and play through pain this year just to get through this year with you guys and finish the season the way you did?
Well, I think we're kind of in a unique society where I think, you know, talking through fighting through injury, sometimes people will look at you and be like, well, why would you do that? This is a very, very violent game. I mean, anybody watching NFL playoffs, NHL playoffs, these are very violent games. Tyler Nubin will be on that field. One thing about him is he's very self-aware, but he understands the game of football. You know, from the first day of practice, that's the last time you'll feel 100%. And I always like guys I always laugh at guys at times when guys will talk about how sore they are in college football, or how old they are in college football. I'm like, hold on a second. Do you dream of playing in the NFL? Because if you do, like you're zero. You're age zero. So you're a newborn. So you better feel really good. Tyler Nubin did everything for his teammates. He played through all types of certain things. I mean, we had a great training staff, great medical staff, but he is one of the tougher guys I've ever coached. And I put him in the same categories as the Antoine Winfield Juniors because it's not just the toughness. He loves to play. He loves to practice. He will stay hours afterwards. He's a guy that you're going to have to pull back and make sure he's not doing too much, which would then lead to injury. But he's a gym rat. He's a football rat. He can't get enough. This is a guy that if you just rolled the balls out, he could be at recess for hours. And the favorite subject was probably recess and PE. And that's what I'm talking about with him. And Antoine, every time, I remember Antoine Winfield Jr. getting hurt, and he got hurt a few times before he actually had some really good seasons with us. And you go up to him and he'd be smiling and be like, what's wrong? He's like, it's football, coach. It's just football. It happens. You know, I'll be back. Like it happens. Tyler is the same way. He loves everything that there has to do with football. He's tough. Everything that the Giants organization's about. He's really smart. He's tough. He's dependable. I mean, it's everything that Dable talks about and what a New York Giant football player is all about. So it's going to be a perfect fit.
Yeah, Coach, final one for you, and you kind of referenced this in your last answer. I was asking about physical toughness, but the mental toughness part of it, right? And you talked about how he never gets beat the same way twice. But look, he's heading into the NFL. It's a new city. You're playing against the best athletes in the world. You're playing secondary. A guy's going to run past you. You're going to give up a touchdown. You talk about defensive backs having to have short memories. How quick was he to bounce back when something went wrong, just get it out of his head, pushing it aside, and then playing that next play?
Well, he's the ultimate competitor. I mean, I can't tell you how many different things we competed at, him and I, whether it was pig or horse. He just wanted to compete. he's going to have no problem flushing any of it because he's the ultimate competitor. You're not going to have to worry about confidence with Tyler Nubin either. Nobody has to ever worry about that. Whether he plays for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, it doesn't matter. If he's playing football, he's in business, he's running his own company. Him and his girlfriend, hopefully soon to be fiance, Farah. I mean, they are an ultimate power couple. Neither one of them lack confidence. And she's a lawyer, going to be a lawyer, studying for the bar. Wow. I mean, this guy's got expectations in every area of his life, and so does she. They're do everything together. It's so cool because you have to have a lot of confidence to do that. And he's built that. So it's not like it's just the football piece. He is a very, very confident young man and a person in what he believes in, what he stands for. And that's what you want to see in human beings. And that's what you want to see in competitors that are joining an NFL organization. That's for sure. Of people who know exactly who they are. Because you know as well as I do in that league, you could be pulled a lot of different ways really quickly. He's not going to be pulled. He's going to be connecting people to the circle that he has, which is an elite circle in my opinion. And he's going to be like a magnet when he gets in that locker room. And then you have John Michael Schmitz, who I think is the same way. And, we just like to be able to continue that pipeline to the Giants from Minnesota. That's for sure.
Yeah, we love it too, Coach. Anything before we say goodbye that, a story, an anecdote, anything you think Giant fans should know about Tyler Nubin, just the type of player and person that they're getting that maybe you could share that maybe people haven't heard before?
No, I think I always tell people that, for him, he's the ultimate son because it's not just about being an athlete. He's an incredible person. Not only is he an unbelievable competitor, all the things we talked about, he's huge into serving and giving. And when you talk about the community and too much is given, much is expected. And he understands the demands that are going to be put upon him, not just on the field, but the philanthropy off the field. That's the Giants fans are going to be really excited about. You are not going to meet a more infectious, positive person than Tyler Nubin. He is a marketing person's dream. And I promise he will have no problem marketing whatever you need him to market because he's so infectious with his personality and his confidence. So you're getting a really special one. He's one of my all-time favorites and cannot wait to see what he does for the Giants organization.
Coach, I can't wait to watch him play and spend some time with him. We really appreciate the time. Best of luck in 2024.
You got it. Row the boat, Sky and Mile. Go Gophers and go Giants. Thanks for having us.
You're ready for a change. Payday comes early with Citizens, so go to that retreat. New you moves to the country. Now you're raising goats and launching a lifestyle brand. Are you ready for all that life brings?
As the head coach of the Golden Gophers, PJ Fleck, the Giants Huddle is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. From game day to every day, Citizens is made ready for Giant fans with insights, guidance, and solutions. Learn more at citizensbank.com. And now we welcome in our second guest. He is the safeties coach for the Minnesota Golden Gophers and their pass game coordinator on defense, Danny Collins. Coach, you're out there recruiting. We appreciate you taking a few minutes from your busy schedule to talk to us about Tyler Nubin. How you doing today?
Absolutely. Doing elite, John. Thanks for having me.
That was the same answer that Coach gave you. You guys are all on the same page. I like that. All right. So let's talk about Tyler. Coach Fleck just was on with us and he talked about, what a great person he was. You're in the meeting room with him every day, right? What is it about Tyler as a person? Joe Shane called him a culture changer, right? How does he lead a room and how does he lead lead the rest of the safeties and DBs and defense when you're in those, team meetings on the defensive side of the ball, the safety room specifically? He was a 5-year player. How does he lead when he's in those situations?
Yeah, Tyler, I always tell people he's a coach's dream. And, that leadership he has, he's a vocal leader and he leads by example. And when your hardest, best players are your hardest workers, right? That's when you have a really elite team. And that's what Tyler did for us for 5 years. And, it's great to see his growth from when he started in 2020 to when he ended here in 23, just that growth that he made. And I think that experience really helped him in terms of that leadership. And then once, he came into this year and knowing that he was the true alpha and just kind of leading that by example and leading with his voice and doing all the right things. He's a guy that takes something from the meeting room and brings it right out to the field and coaching the young guys and coaching everybody up, watching extra film with people. Just like I said, he's a coach's dream in terms of the leadership part.
And you talk about the safeties room. You guys go from Antoine Winfield to Tyler Nubin. That is not a bad transition. How much do you think he was influenced by being on there, Antoine, seeing how he led, how he played the position, and how much he learned from him, from just not just playing safety, but also being a leader in that room?
Yeah, I think it was huge for him. I mean, Antoine was a pro before he was a pro, and Tyler got to see that. Tyler got to see his, study habits. He got to see his how he practiced. How you do one thing is how you do everything. We say that all the time in this program, and Antoine was a great example of that. And Tyler got to be that young freshman, learning from him, watching him every day, absorbing him, just being a sponge. But it helped him out greatly. And then it was awesome to see him, rise to that level that Antoine had here, and setting that example of what it means to be a safety here at the University of Minnesota.
When we talked to Tyler after he was drafted, we asked him about his 13 interceptions and how he's able to be such a good ball hawk. And he said all those interceptions were the result of my preparation. You saw him prepare. You helped him prepare. What is it about his preparation that made him special?
Yeah, Tyler is next level in terms of the information that you can give him. As coaches, we look for everything. We always say there's no stone unturned in terms of our preparation. For translating it to the guys, some guys can handle more than others. Some guys you can't give a lot because then you got information overload. With Tyler, it was he wanted so much information, and we were able to give that to him, and that just allowed him to play faster. And all those tips and things like that. I mean, he would be in on Sundays the day after the game and watching the next opponent and getting ready before the coaches even gave him the information. He was already kind of getting a head start with, in his mind, who he was going up against, quarterbacks, things like that, route recognition. So in terms of film study and things like that, he is next level in that case.
Yeah, it's funny, the old expression is that in the NFL, rookies, it's like trying to drink water out of a fire hose, right? You got so much coming at you to learn so much. And to your point, if you can't information overload him, that's pretty important. Somebody around your program told me that heading into his last year, he went out of his way to learn every position on the defense so he could help line people up and know what everyone's responsibility is so he could play his position better. Have you ever seen a player do that before?
I haven't, and that's what makes him really special. In the off season, we would talk about what the will linebacker would do. We would talk about the rush end, because for him, he wanted to help out everybody possible as possible. And when he does that, he allows himself to play faster as well. We always talk about it too. It's just like when you're in an airplane, and the oxygen comes down, you got to put your mask on first, right? Before you help everybody else.
Right.
That's the analogy that we give these guys. And, he did a great job of understanding and mastering his job that then in the off season, now he can, learn the other jobs to help as much as possible.
Yeah, that's amazing. How does he learn? Some guys are visual learners. Some guys have to be out on the field to do it. What was the best way Tyler was able to kind of absorb all that information and learn what he had to learn?
Like I said, Tyler's a guy that can take it right from the classroom and bring it out to the field. He's not a rep guy where he needs it a bunch of times. He's a guy that is a very visual learner that you show him on the board, then you show him on the film, and then you go out into the field and he's got it from there. So in terms of his learning and his process, I joke with the guys all the time because I would take pictures of his notes just as references to show the guys how you take notes at this level. And we still show those today. So he's a guy that definitely takes it from the classroom and brings it right to the field.
And I asked Coach Fleck about this too, but I think since you're in the meetings with him, you probably have a better feel for this even than the head coach does. You can prepare, you can know what the other team's going to do, but without the instincts to recognize it and react quickly, you can have all the book knowledge if you want. If you can't apply it, it's not going to help, right? Can you just talk about the instincts part of the equation for him and just his natural ability to understand and play the sport of football when everything is going on around him at such an intense speed?
Yeah, I think it's something that certain people are born with, is what he has. Antoine was very similar in that regard too. I think Coach Saban called it athletic intuition the other day in watching the draft, and he's completely right with that. I mean, you can coach a guy, how to high point a ball. You can coach a guy when he's supposed to, take out the receiver, but at the same time, how do you coach him in that gray area? And that's where Tyler really excelled, was he had that athletic intuition to make the decision whether to go pick off the ball or bat it down or cause a collision to separate the man from the football. Those are the things that he's naturally gifted at. But once again, it goes back to the preparation part, because when you're prepared and the play presents itself, well, if you take the first step in the right direction before everybody else, now all the angles change in your favor. And I think Tyler was a great example of that.
And a lot of that is pre-snap recognition, right? Understanding formation, what teams like to do out of certain formations, lining yourself up right. Then when the play starts, how do you guys teach it? When you're either playing that single high or split safety deep thing, you're in a zone, you're responsible for an area, right? Does he have eyes on the quarterback? Is he watching how the routes develop? How do you guys teach him in terms of where to put his eyes so he can get himself in the right position to make those plays?
Yeah, when he's a zone defender, everything for us is based off of the quarterback. So, understanding though the pre-snap with the tips, the split of the receivers, and what we're going to get formationally, you have formation recognition within that. But once again, everything's based off of the quarterback, and I think that's what made him so good. He's not the fastest guy, he's not the biggest guy, but like I said, you have that preparation and you have that athletic intuition. Well, now when the quarterback's looking around, you can make a break on the ball and be very successful.
Where do you use him the most? I went back on the film. I saw him using a lot of different ways. I thought he probably some of his best plays came when he was in that single high spot. Where do you think he right now is most comfortable playing schematically based on how you used him in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think it depends on the overall scheme with the defense. If it's a quarters, we're a quarters based defense. So when we were, quarters and quarter half, we used him into the boundary. When it's quarter half, he's more of a half field player. Cover
Yeah.
two, he's a half field player. Quarters, now he's man in the number two. Usually it's a tight end, even a guy in the slot there. And then he's heavy in the run fit, which, Tyler loves to hit and loves to be physical. So him in the run fit is not a problem at all. Love him there. And then when you do get your cover one, change up or cover three change up, I love Tyler in the post just because of that range that he has and the ability to just be a vision and break player in the quarterback.
And you kind of just broke it down, all the different things a safety has to do, right? You can label a guy as safety. All right, well, okay, that's great, but you could have 4 or 5 different responsibilities depending on the scheme, what the offense is trying to do. So you talked about him having in quarters, you've got to have man responsibility sometimes, right? It's like a match zone, so you have to just play man against the guy in your area, and he has to match up with tight ends. How did he do in those man-to-man coverage situations?
For us, he did exceptional there at the end. I think it's, as a DB, you constantly have to work on that. Every single day, you got to work on your coverage skills, especially as guys get bigger, stronger, and faster. One in the Big Ten and the SEC, and two in the NFL, right? And especially now in the NFL where you got, tight ends that run 4.4s. It's pretty challenging. But I thought Tyler did a good job because he likes to be physical on those guys and likes to get his hands on those guys and has really good footwork. You guys saw it in the first, day of the mini camp, his footwork and his ability to weave and break and things like that. He did a really good job for us.
And then when he has to support the run, a lot has been made of all the interceptions. Understandably so, coverage is a vital part of the NFL game now. But you talk about a guy that wants to be physical. And, if you have to reduce down into the slot, you have so many responsibilities. You'll have pulling linemen coming at you sometimes. You have to deal with tight ends, kick out blocks, outside zone, all that stuff. How is he setting the edge when he had to be put into those situations in that slot area?
Yeah, Tyler was really good for us in run support. And, like I said, in cover one and cover three, you love him in the post. But at the same time, as a coach, I love that, big physical mentality that he had down there in the run game as well. Tyler will not only get you on the ground, but he'll make you feel it. And he loves to ignite the team that way. Loves to ignite the fans that way. His physicality and taking on blocks and shoot tackling and things like that. I mean, he loves doing that stuff, and that's what just makes him such a special player because he's not just a great ball hawk, right? He's a guy that loves to get dirty and loves to be physical.
Yeah, at the same time, he catches the football, right? Which for defensive backs, as you know, coach, it's not a given. The old joke, they're why you play defensive back? Well, I couldn't catch the ball well enough at wide receiver. But he has wide receiver background, right? Can you just talk
That's
about
right.
how he's able to almost turn himself into an offensive player when he does locate that ball in the air?
Yeah, part of the reason why we loved him in high school was, his wide receiver stuff. He's a guy that naturally catches the ball, and I think that's hard to find, especially in today's day and age. So he's a natural ball catcher, and those are skills that we work on every single day in practice. At the end of practice, and guys are catching a certain amount of balls, and he goes above and beyond to do extra drill work in that, whether that's getting on the jugs or whether that's getting the scout team quarterback after practice and having them throw a bomb. So, we talk about all the time, catch the ones they throw you, because if you drop them, you give the offense the opportunity to see the next play. And we do everything we can to catch the ones that are thrown to us so that we eliminate those right away and give our offense the ball in a great situation.
And then you talked about practicing against the jugs machines, working on those throws down the field. When he gets matchup one-on-one, he's trailing somebody deep or hanging with somebody deep. How do you guys teach playing the ball? Are you playing through the hands at the catch? Do you teach to get your head around to try to, deflect the ball on the way down? How do you teach that when he gets into that kind of one-on-one vertical type of pass game down the field?
Yeah, I'll keep it short because I could do about an hour clinic on that one. But we talk about we separate the levels of the field, level 1, level 2, and level 3. And level 3 is anytime it's 15 plus down the field. And when you get into that, your eyes go from the hip to the V of the neck I talk. And when you're either in a in phase situation or out of phase. And if I'm in phase, then I'm either shoulder to shoulder or I'm on top of the guy. When I'm in that phase, I can lean. When I can lean, I can look. If I'm not in that situation, now I play with poise. And when we play with poise, we play through the hand. So that's the Reader's Digest of it. There's those things that we drill, like I said, all the time, and it just becomes second nature for those guys when they're in those situations.
It's funny. We interviewed Andrew Phillips as defensive coordinator, and he had the same exact answer that you just had. When you're in phase, you look for the ball. If you're out of phase, you play through the hands, and that's how you do it. It's funny that you guys explained that
That's
the
right.
exact same way. Absolutely. Last one, and this might be a vague question, and if you can't answer it, I apologize ahead of time, but what are some of the really basic principles when you guys teach coverage and specifically zone coverage? We expect the Giants to be a pretty heavy zone team this year, whether it's, cover 2, cover 6, cover quarters, cover 4. What are some of the basic principles that, day one of install, you're trying to teach and get through to these guys? You have to be good at these things if you want to play zone well in our defensive system.
Yeah, I think the first part is your eyes, right? Because that's going to take you in the direction that you need to go. And then it's everything else is based off of your footwork. And, in certain situations, sometimes you're going backwards, sometimes you're going horizontal, sometimes it's a weave where you're gaining width and depth. So those are the skills that you got to kind of practice every single day. Those are, footwork drills for us, we do every day. And, boring habits create those elite instincts. That's what we talk about. And when you do it over and over and over again, now it becomes second nature to you. So I think eyes and feet are the two biggest part of zone coverage. And then you're able to play the ball once it's in the air.
All right, finally, Coach, you've around him probably as much as any other coach over his career at Minnesota. Any stories or anecdotes that maybe people haven't heard that you would like to share with Giant fans that will maybe give them a little bit of insight into Tyler, either as a football player or just as a guy? You can take this any direction you want.
Yeah, Tyler's he's going to be the hardest worker in the room, and he's going to be a joy every single day. I think you guys have seen that with the media and some of the questions that he's gotten and some of the light answers that he's given, like the Spider-Man comment and things like that. He likes to have a good time and a very confident young man. And like I said, he's just going to come to work every single day and give you everything he has. And at the end of the day, like everything with him is about family. And he surrounds himself with the people he loves the most, and tremendous job with his parents raising him into the man he is today, and brother on the team as well. And he loves the people around him, and I love the guy, and I can't say enough good things about him. And he's going to have a tremendous career there in New York, and I just can't wait to watch him.
I can't wait to watch him play as well and get to know him a little bit better. Danny Collins, the safeties and pass game coordinator for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Danny, thanks so much for taking out of the time out of your recruiting schedule to join us today. We really appreciate it. And best luck in 2024.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you.
You love turf. You're good at it. So you start a turf biz. Business grows, your savings grow. Become the most celebrated name in turf. Are you ready for all that life brings?
Giant fans love a winner. It's why they love Citizens, named a 2022 Best Bank in the U.S. by The Banker as the official bank of the Giants and sponsor of the Giants Huddle podcast. Citizens is made ready for fans of Big Blue. Learn more at citizensbank.com. Really, really happy that we had a chance to talk to both those guys. PJ Fleck, the head coach of the Golden Gophers, giving his insight into Tyler from a kind of a 20,000-foot view as a leader, as a guy, as a player. Really good conversation. Then we kind of dove into the X's and O's a little bit with Danny Collins, the safeties coach and the pass game coordinator for the Minnesota defense. Thank you for joining us so much on the Giants Huddle podcast, everybody. Again, it was all brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. For Coach Fleck, for Coach Collins, I am John Schmeelk. We'll see you next time, everybody.